Cora crossed the silent ballroom before Octavia could stop her. She tugged on the Alpha King's sleeve and looked straight up at him. "Excuse me, you're our daddy, aren't you?" Every conversation died. Lionel stared at the little girl, then at the boy beside her, and finally at Octavia, the woman who had vanished from his life 7 years ago. The color drained from his face. Octavia had come to prove she had moved on. She had never intended to expose the secret she had protected since the night she left. Now one innocent question threatened everything. Chapter 1. Congratulations, Your Majesty. You are with child. The healer's words kept repeating inside Octavia's mind as she hurried toward her husband's chambers. Pregnant. After all this time, she was finally pregnant. Lionel had never blamed her for failing to conceive, not once. He had never looked at her as though she were somehow less because year after year had passed without a child. But the court had not been nearly as kind. Month after month, the whispers had grown louder. Why was the queen still not pregnant? What did the king think? How long could the royal line remain without an heir? Now all of that could finally stop. Octavia was carrying Lionel's child. More than anything, she could not wait to tell him. Lionel had ignored the rumors far better than she had, but she knew how deeply he wanted to become a father. She imagined his reaction, the shock that would break through his usual composure, the way he would pull her against him, the kisses, perhaps even tears. A smile spread across Octavia's face. She was not broken. They were finally going to have what they had both wanted, a family. Servants bowed as she passed through the corridor, but Octavia barely noticed them. Her thoughts were already inside Lionel's chambers. She could almost see him turning toward her, almost see his face when she told him. Then she reached his door and stopped. Lionel's scent struck her first. Arousal. She knew that scent intimately. It was the way her husband smelled when he wanted her. But beneath it was something else. Something sweeter. Something feminine. Octavia's stomach dropped. There was another woman inside. Then Octavia saw the bed. The same bed she had left that morning. A woman lay sprawled across the sheets, and Lionel was above her. Bare skin, entangled bodies, his mouth near hers. The low, rough sound that came from him was one Octavia knew too well. She had heard that sound countless times in darkness, in their bed, with her. The other woman dug her fingers into Lionel's shoulder. He groaned. "Gods, you feel." His voice dissolved into another broken sound as the woman wrapped her legs around him. "What if the queen finds out?" the woman asked breathlessly. Lionel laughed. "She won't." He shifted closer to her. The woman gasped. "And even if she does," Lionel's voice hardened with certainty. "I need this. I need an heir. She can't give me one. She's barren. 3 years and nothing." Octavia could not breathe. Lionel continued. "I'm fond of her, but this is necessary." Fond. He was fond of his wife. The woman pulled him closer, and Lionel surrendered completely to her embrace. Octavia slowly closed the door. Neither of them had noticed her. She turned around and walked back through the corridor. The same servants bowed again. Octavia nodded. Her expression remained calm. Perfect. Royal. Inside, something had shattered. The joyful news she had been carrying toward Lionel only moments ago had turned to ash. She reached her chambers, shut the door, and stood alone in the middle of the room. Her world had ended without anyone outside knowing. "I'm fond of her." His words would not leave her mind. Octavia lowered a trembling hand to her stomach. Inside her was the child they had both waited years for. Lionel did not know, and suddenly, Octavia knew he never would. She clenched her hands. She would not give this to him. Not after what she had just seen. The letter took longer to write than it should have. Finally, Octavia forced the words onto the page. "Lionel, I have been unhappy for some time. I did not understand how deeply until recently. Court life does not suit me. This marriage does not suit me. You need an heir, and I cannot give you one. We both know this. I am leaving. Do not follow me. This is better for both of us. Octavia. She stared at the letter. Not one word about the pregnancy. The child was hers now. This miracle was hers. She folded the letter, sealed it, and placed it on the desk. Then she began packing. Behind her, one life was ending. Inside her, another had begun. 2 lives, as she would discover later. 7 years later. Remind me, Mama, Cora asked. Why are we going to this ball? Octavia did not answer immediately. She stood before her vanity, staring at the invitation. Heavy paper. Gold edging. The royal crest. Once, that crest had been hers to use. She had opened the invitation 3 days earlier in her sister Laurie's drawing room. Then she had thrown a vase against the wall. The crash had been incredibly satisfying. I thought you were over him, Laurie had said calmly, barely looking up from her embroidery. I am over him. Octavia had spun toward her sister. Completely over him. I do not care what Lionel does. I certainly do not care that he is marrying Lady Emmeline of all people. You're shouting. I am not shouting. Octavia had stopped pacing. I am perfectly calm. She had not been calm. She had spent several minutes raging about Lionel's arrogance, his cruelty, the sheer audacity of inviting his former wife to attend the celebration of his engagement to another woman. Then Milo had entered the room, looking worried. Before Octavia could explain, Cora had rushed in behind him, her blonde hair flying in every direction. Are we breaking things? Cora had asked eagerly. I love breaking things. That had been 3 days ago. Now servants tightened Octavia's gown around her. Deep crimson silk hugged her tall frame. The color of wine. The color of vengeance. Octavia examined herself in the mirror. She looked like a queen. More importantly, she looked like a woman who had moved on. She smiled. If Lionel wanted her to witness his new happiness, then Octavia would make certain he saw hers. She would walk into that ballroom and show him exactly what he had lost. Octavia turned toward her twins. Listen carefully. Milo immediately straightened. Cora narrowed her eyes suspiciously. We are attending this ball for one reason. We will deliver the engagement gift and pay our respects to His Majesty. You will smile. You will behave politely. And you will speak to no one. Milo nodded solemnly. Cora opened her mouth. No one, Octavia repeated. Cora closed it. If anyone asks questions, you say nothing. Let them believe whatever they want. Why? Cora asked. Of course she asked why. Octavia hesitated. She could not tell them the truth. Their father would be inside that ballroom. Lionel had no idea they existed. For 7 years, Octavia had made certain of that. Everyone else could look at the twins and understand that Octavia had never been barren, but Lionel could not discover they belonged to him. It is nobody's business but ours, Octavia said carefully. Cora's face made it obvious that she considered this answer deeply unsatisfactory. Milo placed a hand on his sister's arm. Yes, Mama. Cora released a dramatic sigh. Octavia decided that counted as agreement. An hour later, she stood outside the royal ballroom with her heart hammering. 7 years. 7 years without seeing Lionel, without hearing his voice, without standing close enough to feel the pull of the bond she had once trusted with her whole heart. Now she was about to walk into a room with him. And shamefully, some part of her wanted this. She wanted to see his reaction. Wanted to watch shock spread across his face. Wanted him to understand that she had survived leaving him. She wanted him to hurt the way she had hurt. You're certain? Duke Flemings asked quietly beside her. His expression was kind but concerned. Octavia drew a breath. Completely. The ballroom looked almost unchanged. Vaulted ceilings stretched overhead. Crystal chandeliers cast light across silk-covered walls and silver decorations. Octavia had once helped plan celebrations in this room. Now she stood in its doorway and felt the entire ballroom notice her. One head turned, then another. Conversations faltered. The reaction spread across the crowd. The Luna? She's back? Are those her children? Octavia raised her chin and accepted Fleming's offered arm. Nilo walked beside her with careful dignity. Cora struggled not to skip. Together, they entered. The crowd parted. Octavia felt hundreds of eyes studying her, remembering her, judging her. Once, she had been their barren queen. Then she had disappeared without explanation. Now she had returned, beautiful and composed, with 2 children no one knew existed, and a crimson gown that looked almost like a declaration of war. This was what Octavia had wanted, this feeling, this victory. Then she saw him. Lionel stood across the room, half turned away as he spoke to someone she did not recognize. Time had changed him. He was still tall, still broad through the shoulders, still carried the unmistakable physical strength of an alpha king. But his dark hair was shorter, his features seemed harder. The warmth she remembered had disappeared. Lionel had once smiled easily. People had loved being near him because he made them feel welcomed. The man standing across the ballroom looked colder, like a king who had forgotten how to be anything except a king. Then Lionel turned. Their eyes met. For one brief second, his control shattered. His eyes widened. Shock crossed his face. Then something raw appeared beneath it. Something unguarded. Something that looked painfully close to hurt. Octavia's wolf reacted instantly. Go to him. The instinct was so strong that she almost moved. She forced herself to remain still. She had imagined this moment for years. She had imagined anger, regret, humiliation. She had not imagined Lionel looking devastated. Then the emotion vanished. The king returned. Lionel began walking toward her. Every step was measured, controlled. People moved out of his path without being asked. Lionel had always commanded a room, but before, that authority had come with warmth. Now there was only power. He stopped directly in front of Octavia. Octavia. Her body remembered his voice before her mind could protect her from it. Fancy meeting you here. His tone made 7 years sound meaningless, as if their history were nothing more than an amusing coincidence. Octavia curtsied. Your Majesty. She forced a small smile. It cannot be a complete surprise considering you invited me. Something flickered across Lionel's face. I did? The invitation was quite clear. Ah. Lionel nodded. All noble families received one, standard protocol. A pause. Then his cold smile returned. I didn't expect you to actually attend. The words struck harder than Octavia wanted to admit. So the invitation had not been personal. He had not thought about her. He had not wanted to taunt her. Her family had simply been included on a list. Well, Octavia said coolly, it would have been rude not to come. Congratulations on your engagement. Thank you. Lionel tilted his head. That is quite a dress. His gaze lingered briefly on the crimson silk. Red always suited you. Then his voice changed, almost casual. You wore red at the summer estate that night. Do you remember? Octavia's throat tightened. The summer estate. Their engagement night. Lionel had proposed in the gardens at sunset beneath the rose arbor. His hands had actually trembled when he went down on one knee. His eyes had been bright with hope. I remember. We had terrible wine. Octavia stared at him. You remember the wine? You made me finish the bottle. She grimaced. Not the proposal. The wine. How wonderfully sentimental. Octavia turned toward Flemings. Your Majesty, may I introduce Duke Flemings, my escort this evening? Flemings bowed. Lionel acknowledged him with a nod that was only barely polite. How nice. His eyes returned immediately to Octavia. And how long have the two of you known each other? Oh, quite some time, Octavia answered smoothly. She smiled at Flemings. Haven't we, darling? Flemings did not hesitate. Quite some time indeed. Lionel's jaw tightened. Before he could answer, another voice interrupted. Lionel, darling, there you are. Octavia knew that voice. Emmeline. Countess Emmeline Dove had always been beautiful. She had always drifted around the edges of royal gatherings. And even 7 years ago, Octavia had known exactly how Emmeline looked at Lionel. The woman had been in love with him even then. Emmeline. Lionel's voice softened slightly. I was greeting an old friend. So I see. Emmeline smiled warmly. Lady Octavia. What a surprise. It is wonderful to see you again. She moved beside Lionel and rested her hand on his arm before sliding it toward his shoulder. Darling, we really should continue making the rounds. My brother is keeping the council occupied, but… Of course. Lionel nodded. We would not want to leave poor Ivor to handle them alone. Even while he spoke, his eyes remained on Octavia. Emmeline studied Lionel's face. She had wanted him for years. Now she had him. Once Lionel and Emmeline moved away, Flemings released a breath. That was awful. Octavia nodded. I was going to say tense, but awful is accurate. Flemings looked around. I think we should leave. Then he frowned. Where are the twins? Octavia turned. They were right. Flemings searched the crowd. Octavia found them first. Nilo was being dragged forward by the hand as Cora moved through the guests with terrifying determination. Octavia's stomach dropped. She knew exactly where her daughter was going. Cora! The girl kept moving. Wait. Too late. Cora had reached Lionel. She stretched up and tugged on the sleeve of the Alpha King. Lionel looked down. Excuse me, Cora said. Her voice carried through the sudden silence. But you're our daddy, aren't you? Octavia stopped breathing. Around them, people stopped speaking. And for one impossible moment, the entire world seemed to stop with them. Chapter 2. Lionel stared at the children. The children stared back. Octavia's mind raced. She had become so obsessed with confronting Lionel, so determined to make him see what he had lost, that she had brought the twins into his ballroom without truly considering what they might do. She rushed forward and forced out a laugh. I'm so sorry, Your Majesty. You know children. Even to Octavia, the laugh sounded false. Cora has always wanted to be a princess. Apparently she has decided that every king must be her father. It was a terrible lie, thin enough for everyone nearby to see through. Come along, Octavia said quickly. Both of you. She reached for them. Nilo looked at Lionel once more, then allowed Octavia to guide him away. Cora refused to move. Cora. Octavia's warning sharpened, but her daughter planted her feet. I asked you a question, sire. She pulled free of Octavia's hand. Are you our daddy or not? Whispers began around them. Lionel slowly lifted his eyes from Cora to Octavia. His face had gone pale. Shock remained there, but beneath it something else was forming. Understanding. Lionel looked at Nilo. Then Cora. Then Octavia again. Finally, he lowered his gaze to the girl. You should listen to your mother. Relief hit Octavia so hard that her knees almost weakened. Cora looked disappointed, but this time she did not argue. Nilo took his sister's hand and pulled gently. Octavia gathered her skirts and walked toward the exit before anyone could stop them. The journey back to their suite seemed endless. Nilo stayed quiet, one hand clutching Octavia's skirt. Cora did not stop talking. But why didn't he answer? It was the third time she had asked. Octavia wanted to scold her, wanted to tell both children they had disobeyed explicit instructions, but she could not. This was her fault. She had known Lionel would be there. She had known how strongly the children resembled him, and she had known Cora was fearless, curious, and tired of secrets. Mama? Nilo's voice was small. Did we do something wrong? The question broke through Octavia's anger immediately. No, sweetheart. She crouched beside him. You did nothing wrong. Later, Octavia kissed them good night. Nilo's forehead. Cora's temple. though Cora remained turned away from her. Then Octavia quietly closed their bedroom door. What had she done? The question would not leave her. A knock shattered the silence. Octavia opened the door. A young servant stood outside, visibly nervous. Lady Octavia, His Majesty requests your presence in his study. Octavia's stomach dropped. What did Lionel know? What had he already understood? The twins resembled him. That was undeniable. Could he possibly have believed her ridiculous explanation about Cora wanting every king to be her father? The servant guided Octavia through corridors she remembered too well. Once she had run through these halls to see Lionel. She had entered his study without invitation just to steal a kiss. Now every step felt wrong. The servant stopped before a familiar door and knocked. Enter. Lionel. Deep. Commanding. Painfully familiar. Octavia lifted her chin and walked inside. Lionel stood beside the window with his back toward her. His shoulders were rigid. 7 years of silence filled the room. Then Lionel turned. Octavia had forgotten how overwhelming it felt when all of his attention settled on her. The rest of the world seemed to disappear. Who are those children? He asked. Mine. And their father? Lionel stepped toward her. Where is he? He isn't part of their lives. Silence. Lionel moved closer, then closer again. Soon Octavia could smell him. Her wolf whined inside her. She ignored it. They're mine, Lionel said. Octavia froze. My children. She opened her mouth. Lionel's eyes hardened. You were pregnant when you left me. His voice carried accusation now. Did you know? Octavia forced herself to answer. Yes. Lionel went pale. You knew? Yes. What Octavia wanted to say burned behind her teeth. Yes. I knew I was pregnant when I found you betraying me because you wanted an heir. But she could not make herself speak those words. Lionel looked stunned. And you never thought to tell me? I wanted to leave. That was all I could think about. Lionel drew a slow breath, clearly fighting for control. I want to meet them. Octavia stared. Who? His jaw tightened. My children. They're mine. The words exploded from her. I fed them. I nursed them. I sang to them. I raised them. And I would have done every one of those things if I had known they existed. Octavia flinched. Lionel's chest rose and fell heavily. His hands were trembling. She had rarely seen him lose control like this. You never gave me the chance. Octavia's own hurt surged back. You didn't exactly check, did you? Lionel stared at her. The accusation landed. Something changed in his expression. I didn't think you wanted me to. His voice became quiet. The admission hung between them. Then Lionel stepped closer. I want to know them, Octavia. There was no command in his voice now, only a plea. Please. Octavia looked away. Lionel moved nearer. Red. Her heart twisted. That name. He had called her Red when they were alone, when they were happy. Look at me. Memories crashed into her. His hands. His mouth. The private way he had said her name. When Lionel reached toward her, Octavia jerked away as though his touch might burn. It would confuse them, she said quickly, knowing you now. They came to me. They are children. The words burst from Octavia. They don't know what is good for them. Lionel's expression tightened. And you do? Keeping them from their father is good for them? Guilt struck immediately, because he was right. At least about that. Lionel's voice softened. Please, let me meet them. Let me be there for them. He swallowed. They do have a father. Let me prove that to them. Then his voice fell nearly to a whisper. And you? Octavia froze. For one moment, all the defenses she had built over 7 years felt dangerously thin. This was Lionel. The man she had married. The man she had loved. The man she believed she had lost. You don't have to, Octavia whispered. I want to. His answer came instantly. Fierce. Certain. One meeting, Octavia finally said. Tomorrow. The next morning, Octavia stood in the sitting room with the twins and tried to calm herself. She had barely slept. Cora sat on the settee, swinging her legs. Why didn't he want to meet us before? It's complicated, sweetheart. Why didn't he come find us? If he's our daddy, why didn't he know about us? Octavia had no answer suitable for a 6-year-old. Beside Cora, Nilo sat quietly with his hands folded. What if he doesn't like us? He whispered. Octavia's heart broke. She immediately knelt in front of them and took their hands. I will love you no matter what. Do you understand? You are everything to me. But even as she said it, Octavia knew it was not the answer Nilo needed. The twins already knew their mother loved them. They needed to know whether their father would. A knock sounded. All three jumped. Lionel entered. He looked different from the desperate man Octavia had faced in the study. His emotions were controlled again, but there was a gentleness beneath that control. And nervousness. Real nervousness. May I come in? Octavia nodded. Lionel stopped several feet from the twins. His eyes moved slowly over them. Then the Alpha King lowered himself to his knees so that he was at their level. Hello. Both children stared. Lionel swallowed. His hands trembled slightly. Then he opened his arms. An invitation. For one heartbeat, nobody moved. Then Nilo stood. He walked forward and entered Lionel's embrace. Lionel closed his arms around his son. Cora watched. Her lip trembled. Her expression crumpled. Then she made a small sound halfway between a laugh and a sob, and threw herself at Lionel. Her arms locked around his neck. Lionel caught her easily and held both children against him. Octavia stood frozen. One hand covered her mouth. Tears streamed silently down her face. Chapter 3. 3 weeks passed. 3 weeks of Lionel learning how to be a father, and 3 weeks of Octavia keeping her distance. She told herself she was giving the twins space. That was only partly true. The real problem was that Octavia could not bear to watch for long. She had tried on the first afternoon. Lionel had sat on the floor with Nilo, showing him how to do something with his hands. Nilo listened with enormous eyes. When he tried it himself and succeeded, his entire face lit with pride. Octavia had immediately excused herself. She still heard everything afterward. The twins reported every detail. At dinner, at breakfast, at bedtime. Nilo explained things quietly and carefully. Whenever he spoke about Lionel, he watched Octavia's face, almost as though asking permission to be happy. But the reverence in the way he said "father" was impossible to hide. Cora was completely different. She reported everything at full volume. And then father said I can ride his horse, Mama, the big black one, but only if I promise to listen. And I did listen. I listened extremely well. He said I was a natural. Another evening, Nilo added quietly, he let me hold his sword. Octavia looked at him. It was heavy, Nilo continued, but father said I was strong. Octavia listened with a carefully neutral expression. Part of her was touched. Another part remained terrified, because she remembered being exactly like Nilo, watching Lionel, admiring him, trusting him without hesitation. Octavia had once believed in Lionel more completely than she had believed in anyone. He had never given her a reason to doubt him, until the night she opened that door. That was the contradiction she had never resolved. The Lionel she had loved and the Lionel she had seen with another woman had never fit together in her mind. How could her devoted mate also be the man who betrayed her so casually? She had never found an answer. And if Octavia could no longer trust her own judgment, how could she safely watch her children surrender their hearts to him? She knew what it cost to trust someone completely and have that trust destroyed. She did not want Cora and Nilo learning the same lesson. One afternoon, Lionel was in the garden with the twins. Cora hung upside down from one of his arms, shrieking with laughter. Nilo waited nearby, smiling patiently for his turn. Octavia watched from a shadowed archway. Lionel was not performing for anyone. He did not glance around to see who might be watching the Alpha King playing with his children. He was simply there, present, entirely focused on Cora and Nilo, and clearly delighted by them. Lionel lowered Cora to the ground. Again, he laughed. A deep, genuine laugh. The sound struck Octavia with another memory of the man he had once been. No, it's Nilo's turn. He lifted his son. When Lionel set him down again, Nilo whispered something Octavia could not hear. Lionel immediately crouched and answered just as quietly. Whatever he said made Nilo smile. Octavia's chest tightened. Nilo did not smile like that easily. He was careful, slow to trust, even slower to display happiness. Yet Lionel had earned that smile in days. Cora challenged him differently. She asked questions other people avoided. Why didn't you come find us before? Octavia had been present for that one. Her entire body had tensed. She expected Lionel to avoid the question, perhaps charm Cora away from it. He did neither. Lionel looked directly at his daughter. I didn't know you existed. If I had known, I would have come immediately. Why didn't you know? Lionel paused. His eyes flickered toward Octavia before returning to Cora. That part is complicated. Cora frowned. But it wasn't because I didn't want you, Lionel continued. I have always wanted you. Cora remained dissatisfied, but even she seemed unable to argue with the sincerity in his voice. Another day, she had asked him something worse. Do you love Mama? Octavia had left the room before Lionel answered. That was the problem. The man she watched with Cora now looked at his daughter as though she were a miracle. He listened seriously to her questions. He met her exactly where she was. Nothing about that Lionel felt like the man capable of what Octavia remembered seeing. That contradiction had haunted her for 7 years. And there were other moments. Small things between Lionel and Octavia that accumulated quietly. Whenever one of the twins made Lionel laugh, he often glanced toward Octavia, almost as though his first instinct was still to share the moment with her. She usually looked away, but not always quickly enough. The twins told me you used to love the rose garden, Lionel said one day. His tone was deliberately neutral. I thought perhaps you might like to see it again. Octavia declined politely. Lionel did not push, but she saw the disappointment in his eyes. Sometimes he smiled at her. Not the cold smile he had given her at the engagement ball, the real one. The smile that used to make her heart skip. Apparently it still could. Octavia hated that. She hated it even more whenever Emmeline appeared. One afternoon, the Countess approached with her brother. Her smile was flawless. Her hand settled naturally around Lionel's arm. Darling, there you are. I've been looking everywhere. Lionel gave her a distracted smile before looking back toward Nilo. Sorry, Emmeline. What is it? The dressmaker has arrived for the final fitting. Emmeline tightened her fingers around his arm. For the wedding. I told her we could meet her in an hour, but she wants you there. Right. Emmeline glanced toward Octavia. Then the twins. How lovely to see all of you together. Her brother smiled. Like a real family. Octavia sat perfectly still. The warmth of the afternoon vanished. Emmeline was being polite. But she was also about to become Lionel's wife. She would want children, legitimate royal heirs. And when those children came, what would happen to Cora and Nilo? The question settled like a stone inside Octavia. That evening, the twins described another day with Lionel in exhausting detail. When they finally slowed down, Octavia drew a breath. We'll be going home soon. Silence. Nilo became very still. How soon? A few days. Perhaps a week. Nilo lowered his voice. So soon? Cora immediately objected. How will we see Daddy every day if we go home? You can write to him. You can visit. That isn't the same. Cora's voice rose. It isn't the same at all. Octavia remained quiet. I don't want to leave, Cora shouted. Why can't we stay? She ran from the room. Octavia closed her eyes. When she opened them, Nilo was watching her. His expression looked far too mature for his small face. Mama? Yes? Why can't we stay? It's complicated, sweetheart. Nilo sighed. You always say that. Octavia's heart sank. But you never explain what complicated means. He stood and followed his sister. Octavia remained alone, and felt terrible. The next day, Lionel found her in the library. Octavia was pretending to read a book she had not absorbed a single word of. Cora says you're planning to leave. Octavia lowered the book. What would you like me to say, Lionel? I want you to tell me why you're taking my children away. They are my children. Octavia. Lionel crossed the room and stopped several feet from her. Please, talk to me. Octavia stood. You're engaged. Lionel frowned. You are getting married within weeks. What exactly do you expect will happen afterward? She stepped toward him. You'll marry Emmeline. You'll have legitimate heirs. What happens to Nilo and Cora then? They're my children. Now. Nothing is going to happen to them. You say that now. Octavia's voice began trembling. But what happens when you have other children? I will not let Cora and Nilo build their entire hearts around a father who eventually creates a new family and decides that family matters more. Lionel stared. I will not let them slowly become an afterthought. For several seconds, Lionel said nothing. Then his voice became very quiet. Then I'll cancel the engagement. Octavia blinked. What? The engagement, the wedding, all of it. Lionel moved closer. I'll end it. Octavia stared at him. I don't want the life I have been forced to construct during 7 years without you. He swallowed. I want my children. Then Lionel's eyes locked onto hers. And I want you. Octavia could hear her heartbeat. I want you, Lionel repeated. I never stopped wanting you. She looked away. It's too late. Red. His voice softened. Please look at me. She did. She could not stop herself. Lionel's pupils were wide. His breathing was uneven. I know I hurt you, he said. But you need to understand something. I would have done anything to keep you if I had known what was wrong. Octavia's throat tightened. If you had just told me. Stop. She could not let him rewrite what had happened. He spoke as though he had done nothing, as though he had never broken his vows. She wanted to throw the truth in his face. Yet something kept stopping her. What if somehow she had been wrong? What if leaving without confronting him had been her mistake? It's too late, she whispered again. It isn't. Lionel's gaze dropped to her mouth. Octavia's breath caught. Then he kissed her. Or perhaps she kissed him. Neither of them could have said who moved first. 7 years disappeared. His mouth met hers. His hands entered her hair. Octavia should have pulled away. She did not. For 7 years, she had told herself she no longer loved him. The first touch of his lips proved every word had been a lie. She felt 23 again. Young. Foolish. Hopelessly in love with her mate. Lionel cupped her face. Octavia opened to him instinctively. The sound that escaped him sent heat through her. He backed her against the bookshelf. His mouth moved from her lips to her jaw and down her throat. Octavia felt him smile against her skin. God, I missed you. His hands tightened around her hips. Octavia arched toward him. Lionel's fingers found the laces of her dress. He began loosening them. Her head fell back against the shelf. Then Lionel stopped. He pulled away. His chest rose and fell rapidly. Wait. His voice was rough. Wait. I want to do this properly. Octavia tried to understand. Lionel drew another breath. I owe it to Emmeline to end things with her first, before we... Octavia stared at him. But I will, he continued quickly. I'll end the engagement, right now. She did not respond. Lionel owed Emmeline the courtesy of ending their relationship before touching another woman. That mattered to him. He wanted to treat Emmeline with respect. But 7 years ago, Octavia had apparently deserved none of the same. Octavia, I swear, I'll end it now if you want. I just need to do this correctly. Lionel looked directly at her. She deserves that much. Octavia's entire body went cold. She deserves that much? Then she slapped him. The sound cracked through the silent library. Lionel's hand fell away. For one moment, neither moved. Then Octavia pushed past him and ran. Chapter 4. Octavia pressed one hand over her mouth as she fought the sobs tearing at her throat. Her other hand fumbled with the door to her suite. The back of her dress remained partly loosened where Lionel's fingers had been. His hands had touched her bare skin only moments ago. She could still hear his words. I owe it to Emmeline. The sob escaped. Then another. Octavia's entire body shook. How could she have been so stupid? She had let Lionel kiss her again. Worse, she had kissed him back. For a few minutes, she had melted into him like the naive young woman who once believed their love would last forever. Then Lionel had stopped because Emmeline deserved honesty. Emmeline deserved respect. And what had Octavia received? She had opened a door and found her husband in bed with another woman. No warning, no confession, no courtesy. Yet Emmeline deserved better treatment. The unfairness suffocated her. Then Octavia heard movement from the bedroom. The twins. They were here. If they heard her crying, they would come. They would ask what was wrong, and perhaps blame themselves. Octavia refused to let that happen. She wiped her face, drew one shaking breath, then another. She wrapped a shawl around herself to hide the loosened dress and turned. Both twins stood in the bedroom doorway. Mama? Nilo asked. Are you all right? I'm fine, sweetheart. The lie tasted bitter. Cora narrowed her eyes. She clearly did not believe it. Octavia turned away before either child could question her. She crossed to the wardrobe and began removing clothes. They needed to leave. Tonight. Immediately. Before Octavia changed her mind again. What are you doing? Cora asked. Packing. Why? Because we're leaving. Octavia continued folding. Tonight. Silence. Then Cora's voice cracked. What? No. Octavia did not turn. We can't leave. We can, and we are. Why? Go collect your things from the sitting room, both of you. But we don't want to leave. Cora's anger rose. It isn't fair. You can't just make us go without telling us why. Cora, enough. Mama, please. Nilo sounded close to tears. Can't we stay a little longer? No. Octavia's answer came harder than intended. Cora began crying. But why? We just found Father. Octavia stopped moving. He wants us to be a family. Why don't you? The words cut deeply. It isn't that simple. Yes, it is. Cora's entire small body shook with fury. He's our father. He wants to be with us. Cora, enough. He wants to be a family, Mama, Nilo said quietly. His voice held so much hope that Octavia could barely stand it. He told us. He said he wants all of us. Stop. Both children fell silent. Octavia's hands trembled. He's a liar, she whispered. He can't be trusted. Nilo stared at her. What? He lies. He makes you believe things that aren't true. He makes you trust him completely, and then he... What does that mean? The voice came from the doorway. Octavia froze. Lionel stood there. One hand gripped the frame as though he needed it to remain standing. His eyes were red. His expression looked wrecked. What does that mean? He asked again. He stepped inside. That I'm a liar? That I can't be trusted? Octavia flinched. Not here. Lionel moved toward her. What did I ever do to make you believe you couldn't trust me? Rage exploded through Octavia. How could he stand there looking confused? How dare you? Lionel stopped. You know exactly what you did. His face went blank. How can you look at me and pretend you don't know? Mama? Cora sounded frightened now. Octavia looked toward the children. She could not have this confrontation in front of them. Go to the library, both of you. Cora started to object. Lionel spoke gently. She's right. Listen to your mother. The twins looked between them, then reluctantly left. The door clicked shut. Silence stretched between Octavia and Lionel. Were you truly going to leave? He asked. Octavia returned to her packing. Were you even going to tell me this time? There's nothing to say. She pulled another dress from the wardrobe. Her shaking hands lost their grip, and the fabric slipped. Lionel crossed the room. So that's it? You're running away again? Running away? Octavia spun toward him. What else was I supposed to do? You were supposed to talk to me, communicate instead of disappearing whenever. And what did you expect me to feel, Lionel? Her voice sharpened. After catching you in bed with another woman? Lionel froze. Every trace of color disappeared from his face. What? The word barely came out. Octavia laughed bitterly. You didn't think I knew? Lionel stared at her. Well, I did. Tears filled Octavia's eyes. How do you think it felt? I finally learned I was pregnant, and then I found you with another woman because you had stopped believing I could give you an heir. Octavia. It broke me. The words tore out of her. Tears streamed down her face. You pursued me. Do you remember that? Lionel did not move. I didn't want to fall in love with you. I built walls because I knew what men like you could do. Her voice broke. Powerful men, charming men, men who say beautiful things they don't mean. Lionel looked devastated. You swore you would never love another woman. Octavia drew a shaking breath. And I believed you. She pressed a hand against her chest. I loved everything about you. Your laugh, your warmth, the way you made people feel like they mattered. Her tears came faster. I loved waking beside you. Loved the way you said my name. She could barely force out the next words. Then I walked into that room. Lionel's brow tightened. I saw you with her. I heard you. Her voice dropped. The sounds you made, sounds I thought belonged to us. Lionel looked increasingly confused. I heard you tell her your wife was barren. What are you talking about? His interruption was sharp. His eyes went wild. Octavia, I never slept with another woman. Silence. Octavia stopped breathing. What? Lionel stepped toward her. I never slept with anyone else. Her mind reeled. He was denying it, standing directly in front of her and denying something she had witnessed with her own eyes. For one terrible moment, doubt slipped into her mind. Had she misunderstood? Number. She remembered everything. The woman's gasps, the movement of the bed, Lionel's voice, his face, that low sound he made when pleasure overwhelmed him. She had seen him. Hadn't she? I never betrayed you, Lionel said. Octavia, I swear. He reached for her. She stepped back. So now you're saying I imagined everything? No, I'm saying I never cheated. Lionel's hurt turned sharp. You're the one who disappeared without saying goodbye. Octavia laughed bitterly. Oh, forgive me. Should I have challenged your lover to a duel? Was that the proper royal protocol? I never had a lover. You expect me to believe that? You left me. Lionel's voice cracked. You told me you were unhappy. He stopped. Swallowed. When I found that letter, his expression collapsed. I was devastated. Octavia looked away. It broke my heart. Lionel sounded completely destroyed. Don't go. Octavia closed her eyes. I'm asking now. Don't go. I should have asked before. I should have. I will not let you charm your way into my children's hearts the way you charmed your way into mine, only to destroy them later. I won't. Lionel's chest heaved. I never forgot you. His voice broke. I never stopped loving you. 7 years, Octavia. 7 years and I never. He could not finish. Then he forced out the words. You truly think I could stop loving my own children? Confusion struck Octavia again. For the first time, Lionel's denial did not sound like manipulation. It sounded like pain. But she had seen him. She had seen him with that woman. I don't believe you, Octavia whispered. You can't even admit what you did. Lionel stared. Octavia wiped her face. I'm getting the children, then we are leaving. His expression crumpled. Not forever, Octavia added. We'll correspond. You will see them. Just not now. She shook her head. I cannot stay here right now. Octavia. His voice broke on her name. She forced herself to walk away. The children. She needed them. Octavia left the room and moved through the corridor on unsteady legs. One hand slid along the wall for balance. She reached the library and opened the door. Empty. Nilo? Nothing. Cora? Only silence. The ticking of a clock echoed through the room. Octavia's breathing turned ragged. Her children were gone. Chapter 5. The library was stupid. That was Cora's opinion. She stomped across the polished floor with her arms tightly crossed. Everything about the room annoyed her. Tall shelves, boring books, chairs designed for adults. She kicked one chair leg. It did not even move. This is stupid. Nilo looked at her. All of it is stupid. Mother is being stupid. Cora, she is. Cora spun toward him. I don't understand her. Why would we leave? This castle is bigger than Aunt Laurie's house, and Mama obviously still loves Daddy. Nilo grimaced. I agree with both of those things. Then he became more serious. But Mother looks sad sometimes. Some of Cora's anger faded. She did not want her mother to be sad. She simply believed Octavia seemed determined to remain sad, which to Cora was both different and much more frustrating. She wouldn't be sad if we were all a family again. Nilo opened his mouth to answer. The library door opened. Both children turned. Their father entered. Relief rushed through Cora. Daddy? She started toward him, then stopped. Something felt wrong. He did not smile. He did not open his arms. He simply stood in the doorway with a blank expression. Do we have to leave? Cora asked. Her voice became smaller. Please say we don't. I don't want to go. Can you talk to Mother? Their father stared at them for a long moment. Then he sighed. Actually, children, I believe leaving would be best. Cora froze. She looked at Nilo. Nilo's face had gone pale. What do you mean, Daddy? The man's face remained unnaturally expressionless. Court is no place for you. He paused. And I'm about to marry the love of my life. Cora immediately brightened. You're marrying Mama again? Nilo smiled too. That's wonderful. The man's expression changed. Not happiness. Anger. No. His voice became flat. I'm marrying Countess Emmeline Dove. Cora blinked. Who? Nilo leaned toward her. The woman who keeps following Father around. Cora wrinkled her nose. The maid? She is not a maid. The sudden fury in their father's voice made both children recoil. She is my dearest friend, my greatest ally, the woman I love. Cora looked at Nilo. Is he joking? Nilo frowned. Father, you don't love Lady Emmeline the way you love Mother. He took a cautious step forward. You told us that. The man's eyes widened. I did not. Yes, you did, Cora insisted. Her voice rose. You told us Mama was your true love. You said you never forgot her. You said you wanted us to be a family again. Cora remembered it clearly. Her real father kneeling beside them. The sincerity in his face. The way he spoke about their mother. How he had said he never stopped loving her. Not for one day. Cora's eyes filled with tears. You love our mother. The man's expression twisted. No. Nilo took Cora's hand and pulled her backward. You're lying. the man snapped. Nilo stared at him. No. His voice remained quiet but firm. You are. Cora suddenly studied the man in front of her more carefully. His posture was wrong. Too rigid. Too controlled. His eyes had the correct color, but they looked at her differently. Her father had never looked at her that way. Cora slowly understood. You're not our daddy. She glanced at Nilo. Her brother gave one sharp nod. He looks like father, Nilo whispered. But he isn't father. The man's face twisted with fury. Come back here. He lunged. We need mother. Cora grabbed Nilo and ran. They raced toward the door, but the man moved faster and blocked them. The twins turned between the shelves. Footsteps thundered behind them. Closer. Closer. A hand caught Cora's arm. She screamed. Nilo had reached the next aisle. He turned. His face went white. Run, Nilo. He hesitated. The grip around Cora's arm tightened painfully. Run. For 1 second, Nilo looked ready to come back. Cora knew that would be the worst possible choice. Then her brother understood. His body shimmered. Contracted. Fur spread across him. Seconds later, a small wolf pup stood where Nilo had been. Despite her fear, pride surged through Cora. His first shift. Their father had been training him for days, and Nilo had finally done it. That's it, Cora shouted. Keep going. Don't turn around. Shut up, you ungrateful. The man clamped a hand over Cora's mouth. She bit him. Hard. He yelped. And the sound was wrong. Nothing like her father. His grip loosened. Cora tried to run. The man seized her shoulders and turned her around. Then Cora watched his face change. His features rippled like water. The strong jaw softened. His broad shoulders narrowed. The clothes remained Lionel's, but the person wearing them changed. Cora stared at a stranger. Then she screamed. Chapter 6. Octavia rushed through the castle. The library was empty. So was the sitting room, the conservatory, the study, the drawing room. Nothing. Her children had disappeared. Panic tightened around Octavia's chest. Where were they? She needed Lionel. She needed guards. Mother. Octavia spun. Nilo stood at the far end of the corridor. His chest rose and fell rapidly. His face was pale. Nilo. Relief almost buckled Octavia's knees. She ran toward him. Where is Cora? Nilo grabbed her hand. Come quickly. Where is your sister? Cora's in trouble. Octavia's blood went cold. What? She turned toward the corridor. Let me call the guards. No. Nilo pulled harder. We can't trust them. Octavia stared at him. I don't know who is involved, Nilo said rapidly. The guards might be part of it. We're all in danger. Nilo, sweetheart, I don't understand. But Octavia followed him. What happened? Hurry, his voice cracked. They have Cora. Nothing else mattered. Octavia ran. Nilo led her through unfamiliar corridors, down stone stairs, through a heavy door, into passages Octavia had never known existed. Nilo, where are we? I saw them take her this way. Octavia caught a scent. Cora. Faint. Sweet. Mixed with fear. Fresh fear. Octavia's wolf surged forward. Protective instinct overwhelmed everything else. The passage opened into a long gallery lined with cells. Most stood empty. Then Octavia saw the final cell. Cora! Her daughter lay on the floor. Chains bound her wrists. A gag covered her mouth. When Cora saw Octavia, her eyes widened. She shook her head desperately. No, no, no. I'm coming, sweetheart. Octavia rushed forward. I'll get you out. She reached the bars and searched for a key. Behind her, Nilo had become strangely silent. Octavia barely noticed. All she saw was her daughter chained like an animal. A shadow moved behind her. Octavia began turning. Too late. Something struck the back of her head. Pain exploded. Then darkness swallowed everything. Consciousness returned slowly. A heavy ache spread from the back of Octavia's skull into her neck. She tried to move. Chains stopped her. Octavia's eyes flew open. Cora sat beside her, still bound. The gag had been removed. "Are you hurt?" Octavia asked immediately. She forced calm into her voice. "It's all right, sweetheart. I'm here." Octavia tested the chains. If she shifted into wolf form, she could break ordinary restraints. She reached for the change. Nothing happened. Magic. The chains were spelled. Panic rose. Octavia forced it back. She needed to think. Footsteps sounded beyond the cell. A woman appeared. Octavia stared. Countess Emmeline? Emmeline looked immaculate. Her dark hair was perfectly arranged. Her expression almost sympathetic. "Octavia." Her voice was gentle. "It is such a shame you couldn't remain gone." Octavia pulled against her chains. "You did this?" Her anger rose. "You locked my daughter in here? I had no choice." "No choice?" Octavia almost shouted. "Are you insane?" She looked around. "And where is Nilo? What did you do to my son?" "He'll be caught soon." Emmeline remained perfectly calm. "My brother is searching for him." A feral rage rose inside Octavia. "You tell your brother to stay away from my son." Emmeline smiled sweetly. "Or what?" Octavia pulled against her restraints. "You're chained, Octavia. Not for long, and Lionel will never allow this." Emmeline's smile widened. "Why would he intervene when he believes you and the children have already left?" Octavia stopped. "What?" "He thinks you took the twins and returned to your sister's duchy. He would never simply accept your word. He would check." "Oh, certainly." Emmeline nodded. "He would, wouldn't he?" She tilted her head. "Unless you told him yourself." Octavia stared. "Unless what?" "Unless you say goodbye." Emmeline's voice remained almost pleasant. "Tell Lionel you want to leave. Tell him you never want to see him again. Tell him he is forbidden from contacting your children." Octavia shook her head. "He would never believe that." "Oh, I think he would." Emmeline sighed. "He never could resist your tears. Cry beautifully enough, and Lionel will give you whatever you ask. I'm not going to tell him to abandon his children." Octavia's voice hardened. "And I certainly will not cry on command." Emmeline smiled. "I think you will." Then her body changed. Octavia stared. Emmeline's features rippled, shifted, reformed. Within seconds, another woman stood before the cell. Octavia. Her own face. Her own hair. Her height. Her body. Everything. It was like looking into a mirror. The false Octavia's expression crumpled. Tears filled her eyes. "Lionel," she sobbed in Octavia's voice. "You have to let me go. Being near you hurts me. You'll hurt the children too. Please, let us leave." "Enough." The false Octavia stopped crying instantly. She smiled. Then her features shifted again. Emmeline returned. Octavia stared. "You're a changeling." She had heard the stories. Shifters who did not become animals. They became other people. Octavia had always assumed such creatures were myths told to frighten children. Emmeline shrugged. "If that is what you want to call me." Cold realization crept through Octavia. "How many people can you become?" "Anyone." Emmeline smiled. "I became your son earlier. You didn't even notice." Octavia went pale. Nilo, the boy who had found her in the hallway. The boy who had pulled her through the hidden passages. That had not been her son. "Don't blame yourself," Emmeline said lightly. "When you don't know what to look for, we are almost impossible to recognize." Her expression tightened. "Although your children noticed when I tried to imitate their father." Octavia turned toward Cora. Her daughter nodded solemnly. "Unlike you," Emmeline added. Octavia froze. Unlike her? When had she ever? The answer struck. The man she had loved 7 years ago. The devoted husband. the mate who had made her feel completely cherished, and the cold man she had seen betraying her. For 7 years, Octavia had never been able to reconcile those two versions of Lionel. Because they had never been the same person, Octavia stared at Emmeline. It was you, the night that destroyed her marriage. The man in bed with another woman. It had never been Lionel. Yes, Emmeline said simply. Octavia felt as though the floor vanished beneath her. I spent a great deal of time studying him, Emmeline said dreamily. His mannerisms, his voice, the way he speaks. Becoming Lionel was not particularly difficult. Octavia's rage grew. The difficult part was convincing him to let you go. Your letter helped. He tried to follow me? Oh yes. That morning, Octavia pulled against the chains. Where was he while you were pretending to be him? Her voice became a snarl. Where was my husband? Drugged. Emmeline's answer came calmly. In another room. I couldn't risk him waking before you were far away. Octavia saw red. You drugged my mate? And impersonated him. How dare you? Octavia pulled until the metal cut into her wrists. Emmeline smiled faintly. And later I impersonated you. Octavia stopped. What? He begged you to return. Emmeline watched her closely. He believed court life had made you unhappy. He even offered to abdicate for you. Pain tore through Octavia. Emmeline laughed sadly. For a while, I considered remaining you forever. I thought perhaps Lionel would never notice, and I could finally have him. Her smile softened. But I wanted him to love me as myself. Emmeline straightened. So I stayed beside him through all those years while he failed to get over you. Octavia stared at her. The council pressured him to remarry. Eventually I offered. I told him I understood that he might never forget you. Her expression darkened. I simply didn't expect you to return with 2 children. Release us. Octavia's voice was deadly. Now. Not yet. Emmeline stepped closer. Not until you help me. Octavia stared. He will not marry me now, not while his children want him. Emmeline's desperation finally showed. Convince him to continue with the wedding. Then disappear again. Never. Octavia's answer was immediate. Stay away from him. Emmeline's expression hardened. Then I will kill your children. Octavia stopped breathing. I'll start with Cora so you understand that I'm serious. Octavia's blood turned cold. And then what? You think Lionel will spare you when he discovers what you did? He won't discover it. Emmeline's composure cracked. This is your last chance. Her voice rose. Help me, or all of you die. Octavia studied her. Beneath the threat was desperation. You don't actually want to hurt us. Emmeline's face twisted. No. For the first time, her voice sounded almost honest. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to hurt the children. She shook her head. But I have worked too hard to be with Lionel. Her voice became pleading. What we have is special, Octavia. In the end, he will be happier with me. Nausea rose in Octavia. She would never willingly leave Lionel with this woman. But chained inside this cell, she needed time. Let me think. Emmeline studied her, then nodded. Until morning. She turned and walked away. Octavia waited until the footsteps disappeared. Then she looked at Cora. I am not helping her. Cora watched her. I promise you, sweetheart, I'm getting us out. Octavia only needed to discover how. Chapter 7. Octavia sat in the dark cell, searching desperately for possibilities. Every idea seemed impossible. Cora sat pressed against her side, gagged again. It will be all right, Octavia whispered. She had no idea whether that was true. I'm going to get us out, I promise. Cora made an urgent sound behind the gag. Then both of them froze. Footsteps. Small ones. Soft against stone. A blonde wolf pup appeared outside the cell. Green eyes shone through the darkness. Nilo. The pup carried keys between his teeth. Relief hit Octavia so hard she almost became dizzy. Nilo wagged his tail once, then shifted. Seconds later, her son stood in human form with the keys in his hands. I took them from the guard station, he whispered. Nobody saw me. My clever boy. Nilo reached for the lock. His hands shook. The first key failed, then the second. On the third attempt, the lock clicked. The door opened. Octavia immediately removed Cora's gag. Mama, I know. Octavia pulled both children into her arms. Are you hurt? We're all right, Nilo said against her shoulder. Cora lifted her chin. I bit the fake father. Despite everything, Octavia almost smiled. Hard. Good girl. Octavia stood. Her legs felt weak, but her mind was already planning. They needed to leave. We have to get father, Cora said. We will. Octavia looked toward the passage. But first I am getting you two somewhere safe. There's a servant's passage. No. Octavia turned. Nilo rarely contradicted her. We aren't leaving without you, he said. And we aren't leaving without father, Cora added. This woman is dangerous. That's why we should help, Cora argued. Octavia looked at them. Her brave, stubborn children had already endured far too much. There is a trapdoor in the old chapel, Octavia finally said. Do you remember the chapel? Both nodded. I want you to wait there. If I haven't returned within an hour, you run. Cora frowned. Go to the stables, take horses, ride straight to your aunt's duchy, and do not stop. Octavia looked at Nilo. You are responsible for getting both of you there, do you understand? Nilo nodded. Cora reluctantly did the same. Octavia guided them through the passages, up the stairs, into the old chapel. She lifted the altar cloth and revealed the hidden trapdoor. The twins climbed into the tunnel below. 1 hour, Octavia repeated. If I don't come back, run. Before either child could argue, she closed the door. Then Octavia hurried toward the main hall. She needed guards, witnesses, and Lionel. Most of all, she needed to stop Emmeline. 3 guards stood in a corridor. Octavia approached without slowing. Countess Emmeline has committed treason. All 3 stared. She is a changeling. She has been manipulating the king. Come with me immediately. They exchanged uncertain looks, but Octavia had once been their Luna. Her authority still mattered. They followed. Octavia moved quickly through the castle. The throne room. Lionel's chambers. Where would Emmeline go? Then Octavia heard voices. Emmeline and Lionel. Octavia rushed into the hall. She stopped. Emmeline stood pressed against Lionel's chest. She cried against his shoulder. His arms surrounded her. Lionel looked up. The moment he saw Octavia, his expression hardened. Emmeline told me everything. His voice was cold. She told me you attacked her out of jealousy. Octavia stared. What? No. She warned me you would deny it. Lionel pulled Emmeline closer. She said you would try to manipulate me. Lionel, listen to me. She is the one who... Seize her. The guards moved toward Octavia. She barely noticed. Something about Lionel was wrong. His posture. Too stiff. Too formal. The angle of his shoulders. The way he looked at her without truly focusing. Now Octavia knew what to notice. Her blood ran cold. You're not Lionel. The guards stopped. Octavia pointed. He is impersonating the king. Emmeline pulled away from him. What are you talking about? Of course he is. A blonde blur raced into the room. Nilo. In wolf form. He launched himself at the king and sank his small teeth into the man's arm. The king yelped. Wrong voice. Too high. Too sharp. His body jerked. Then his features began changing. Within seconds, Lionel was gone. Another man stood there. Tall. Broad. Unremarkable. He clutched his bleeding arm. Emmeline went white. Ivor? Cora raced into the room behind Nilo. We figured out pain makes them change back. She sounded almost proud. Not especially impressive shifters, if you ask me. The guards stared. Their hands reached for weapons, though none seemed certain where to point them. Octavia's fury sharpened her voice. These two are changelings. She pointed toward Emmeline and Ivor. They have been impersonating the king. Then Octavia stepped closer. Where is Lionel? Her voice became quiet. Dangerously quiet. Emmeline turned toward her brother. Yes, Ivor. Her face was suddenly frightened. Where is Lionel? Ivor ripped a sword from one stunned guard's grasp. They'll never find him. His expression twisted with desperation. I can become him. Nobody ever has to know. Ivor, no. We don't need him. Ivor looked at Emmeline. Don't you understand? We can have the throne. I don't care about the throne, Emmeline screamed. Where is Lionel? I'm not telling you. If we don't give him the antidote, he won't wake. Ivor stared at his sister. I know. Something final entered his voice. For Octavia, the words sounded like a death sentence. She moved. Octavia seized another guard's sword and placed the blade against Emmeline's throat. Where is he? Ivor said nothing. Emmeline began crying. Not false tears this time. Real ones. All I ever wanted was for Lionel and me to be happy. One guard shook his head. Countess, everyone knew he never got over the Luna. Something inside Emmeline seemed to break. Her shoulders dropped. Cora stepped forward. Nilo and I can track father. Octavia nodded. It's worth trying. She pressed the blade slightly closer to Emmeline. But we need the antidote first. Octavia's eyes narrowed. Where is it? Emmeline swallowed. My chambers. A blue vial on the dressing table. One guard immediately ran. Nilo lowered his nose. His small wolf body trembled with concentration. Then he moved. He followed a scent trail out of the hall and down a corridor. Cora ran beside him. Octavia followed with 2 guards. The third stayed with Emmeline and Ivor. Nilo led them into a section of the castle Octavia had never explored. Finally, he stopped before a stone wall. A hidden door was concealed so perfectly that Octavia would never have noticed it. Cora searched the stones. There. She found a catch. The door opened. A narrow passage descended into darkness. The guards lifted torches. They followed Nilo down. At the bottom was a small room. Cold. Damp. And in the center, sitting motionless in a chair, was Lionel. Octavia's heart stopped. He was alive. Breathing. But his eyes stared at nothing. Vacant. Empty. As though he were looking through the walls and into another world. One guard hesitated. Are we certain that is actually the king? Cora looked offended. I can recognize my own father, thank you. Nilo gave an agreeing huff. Octavia was already beside Lionel. She dropped to her knees. Lionel. She cupped his face. His skin was warm. He did not respond. Lionel, can you hear me? Nothing. He did not even blink. Tears filled Octavia's eyes. I'm sorry. Her voice broke. I'm so sorry. She touched his cheek. For leaving. A tear fell. For not trusting you. Another. For believing. She struggled to continue. You never betrayed me. Octavia pressed her forehead against his hand. You never stopped loving me. Her voice became a whisper. And I should have known. Footsteps approached. The guard returned carrying a small blue vial. Octavia took it with trembling hands. She uncorked it. A sharp medicinal scent filled the air. Please. She lifted the vial toward Lionel's lips. Please come back to me. Octavia slowly poured the liquid into his mouth. She supported his jaw, massaged his throat until she felt him swallow. Then she waited. 1 second. Another. Nothing. Octavia held her breath. Then Lionel blinked. His eyes moved slowly. Confused. Disoriented. He looked at the guards. The stone walls. The children. Finally his gaze found Octavia. Recognition appeared gradually, then completely. Lionel smiled. Octavia. His voice was hoarse. I'm here. She laughed through her tears. Lionel slowly raised one hand. Forever? Octavia caught it. Yes. She cried and laughed at once. Yes. Forever. She leaned closer. I promise. Her voice shook. I'm never leaving you again. Cora and Nilo crowded close beside them. For the first time in 7 years, they were together, whole. Exactly where they should have been. Epilogue. 1 year later, Cora and Nilo raced through the garden while their laughter echoed against the castle walls. Octavia watched them through the window of Lionel's study. Their study now. Her hand rested over the curve of her stomach. 7 months pregnant. A girl. At least, that was what the healer had told them. You're smiling. Lionel came up behind Octavia. His arms slipped around her, settling over hers. His chin rested on her shoulder. They're happy, Octavia said softly. Listen. Below them, Cora attempted to teach Nilo an elaborate game, involving far too much running and shouting. Nilo appeared to be losing badly. As usual, he did not seem particularly bothered. They are happy, Lionel agreed. His hand spread gently over Octavia's stomach. We all are. The baby kicked. Lionel smiled. 1 year had passed since they found him in that hidden room. 1 year since Emmeline and Ivor faced judgment. Emmeline had been tried for deception, obsession, impersonating both king and queen, and manipulating their lives for 7 years. Ivor had been tried for conspiracy, attempting to seize the throne, and almost killing Lionel when he refused to reveal where the antidote was kept. They were imprisoned separately. Different cells. Different prisons. Emmeline had cried throughout her trial. Ivor had shown no remorse. Octavia tried not to think about either of them now. Most days, she succeeded. Red? Lionel's voice brought her back. He gently turned Octavia toward him and cupped her face. Where did you go? Nowhere. Lionel looked at her. Octavia sighed. He could still see through her too easily. I was thinking about how much time we lost. Lionel brushed his thumb across her cheek. We cannot change what happened. We can only move forward. I know. Octavia leaned into his hand. But sometimes I think about everything we missed, everything the children missed. They had discussed the same guilt many times during the past year. Octavia carried guilt for leaving, for not trusting Lionel, for keeping his children away from him. Lionel carried guilt for not fighting harder when she left, for believing what he thought Octavia had told him, for allowing the lies around them to become permanent. Some nights, one of them still woke suddenly and reached for the other, just to feel warmth, breathing, presence, proof. The children are happy, Lionel said gently. Octavia looked toward the garden. We're together now. He was right. Cora and Nilo had adapted to their new life with remarkable ease. They had their mother. They had their father. They had a home that was finally whole. For them, that seemed to be enough. We should try to be more like them, Octavia said. Lionel smiled. We should. The baby kicked again. Harder this time. Both of them felt it. Outside, Cora shouted triumphantly. Nilo laughed, pushed himself up from the grass, and chased his sister again. Lionel tightened his arms around Octavia. She leaned back against him. She felt his warmth, his weight, the steady rise and fall of his chest. I love you, Lionel whispered against her hair. Forever. Octavia closed her eyes. Forever. And for the first time in 7 years, she believed that promise without a single reservation.